Hi, everyone. I am Sequoia T. Gilliard, the editor in chief of Rejoicing Hope magazine and the host of the Journey to Empowerment podcast. So, today I'm doing a recap of an event that I went to on last month called the Apostolic and Prophetic Scribal Advance Scribes and the Supernatural. When I tell you that this event changed my life, in such a way that I'm like, you know what, God, I'm so thankful that I went to this event. But before I get into the event, I want to share a little bit about the event host, Miss Teresa Harvard Johnson. I met her last year through a mutual friend on Facebook, and we finally had the opportunity to meet in person last year in October. And I am so like honored to have met her. And I say that because she is one of the very few people where God has allowed me to encounter that they have spoken in my life in such a way that it literally shifts me into a whole different direction. Like literally, it's like my life has just shifted in so many different ways. And so I am just like God, like, wait a minute, what's going on? What's happening? Like, I just never imagined that I would be where I am in my life. And I know that it's because of me meeting her. And I realize that when we meet people, it's not by accident. I believe, that God connects his children for a reason. It's a divine, appointment. Even if we don't know at that point in time of meeting that person, what God has planned, for that connection. But I'm just so like, just, ah. So by me meeting her, I got to really, understand and gain more clarity about, who I am, as, the person that God has created me to be and the calling that's upon my life. And so she invited me to come to her event that she had last month. And to be honest, I didn't really know what to expect because I had this desire for such a long time that I never told anybody about. So I know that was God because I never told anybody about this desire I had, but I always desired to be among a group of people who, wanted to go deeper in God and deeper into his word and to use, the gifts and the talents to be able to advance the kingdom and to impact the lives of his people in such a genuine way. Because what I was used to was a lot of surface stuff, a lot of tradition. I was like, God, I'm just tired of that. I want to be around people who are operating in the prophetic and the apostolic. And I didn't think I would find it, to be honest. I really didn't. So I kind of put it to the back of, my mind. And so I'm so glad that God knows the inner desires that we have because, He's given them to us. It's a reason why I was desiring this. So I realized that by attending her event, that this community of people that I was desiring, that God was bringing me, into, connection with them. And so I was just really blown away by the event because I was like, God, all of these different people are from all over the country who are thirsting after you, who are desiring to go deeper in you, to learn more about, how to use their arts and crafts to advance the kingdom, to impact lives. And I'm sitting here in the midst of this desire that I had for all these years is coming to pass. And so what I learned at this event is that, scribes are, not just writers. Most people when they hear the word scribe, they think of, writers. But, I learned that a scribe, is someone who, use their gifts and their talents, to be able to advance and articulate the heart and the mind of God, to be able to advance the kingdom, to be able to impact the lives of people, and that they are writers, they are treasurers, there are secretaries, there are painters, there are sculptors, there are dancers, there are singers. So a whole array of different artistries, make up, a scribe. And so upon me learning that, I'm like, oh my gosh. I was blown away because I'm like, I know I'm not just a writer. So my gifts is also with speaking and acting, and so I know all of that is part of being a scribe, and so just to now have a definition and a more concrete understanding of the calling and the gift that's on my life. It's like wow, mind blowing. So that was the second thing for me that was just like, whoo, just learning just so much. And the next thing that I learned at this event was to honor my gifts. And I have to be honest in saying that, I knew that God gave me the gift of speaking and writing and also acting, but I don't really think I understood the magnitude of how important they are, to the kingdom of God. I just knew that these were things that I absolutely love to do, that I was really passionate about. Like they said, this is your passion. People don't have to pay you to do it. You just want to do it. But at this event, I just learned how important it is to honor your gifts and to hold them sacred. They are, our treasures, that God has gifted us with to be able to give to the world. So we have to honor, we have to respect them and treat them in high regards. And so that was something that blew me away, and just learning how the scribes of the old in the Bible, how they were very meticulous and doing things in a certain way, like when they were writing the Torah, how they would have it, written in such a way where everything had a meaning, everything had a purpose. And so they just didn't, haphazardly do anything. And so I'm like, God, I have to realize that with my gifts, I just can't just be, haphazardly doing things. I have to, honor and respect, the gifts that you've given me. And so another thing that really blessed me was again, being among people that I felt so comfortable around, because a lot of times, as artists, people always think that we're weird, we're outsiders, that we're just, crazy people that live in the clouds somewhere. But I felt so comfortable being around people who desired the same thing, and it felt great to now realize that I have a tribe, that I'm not, by myself, that I have people that I can glean from, that I have people that, hey, I can teach them something as well too, but I have a support group. And so being a part of this event helped me to really see that I'm not the only one out there with these gifts and talents who, God is using, that He's using people all over the world, you know, to be able to advance His kingdom in different ways. So being among my tribe for me helped me to understand that God places people together, and that He intended for us to be able to work together with our various gifts to be able to advance His kingdom. And that's what it's all about, us working together, our various gifts. It doesn't matter what your gift is, but working together, as one body, being on the same, one accord, having that same mindset to just go ahead and just do the things that God has called us to do. And so also I learned that you have to study your craft. And so for me, that was like a biggie, because so many people who are gifted in various things, sometimes may not feel like they have to take a class or a workshop or even go to school. Like for me, I knew like my passion is, acting. I'm like, okay, God, I love this. I'm drawn to this art form. But at the same time, I didn't when I went to school, I didn't have a drama class or anything like that in high school. So I'm like, God, I don't want to just, go and just act. and I don't really have any knowledge about this craft, but I have this desire to do it. So when I went to college, that was my major because I'm like, God, I really want to understand and study this craft. And so that's something that I learned at the event, that it's important that you study your craft and don't feel like because you have been anointed by God that there isn't any more for you to learn. Like God wants you to, of course, have that gifting and that anointing, but don't just rely on the anointing of God to be able to operate in your gift, but be willing to be open to going through classes and workshops. And even if you want to get a degree and whatever it is that your artistry is, be open to being educated and growing more in your gift and your talent, because you can tell people who are, you know, just operating by, their passion, and those who have been educated and have honed in on their craft. There's a big difference. You can tell the difference. So I'm like, God, I don't want to be, operating in my artistry, and I'm not keeping myself open to being able to learn things, because I don't know everything about acting, but God, you have provided different venues for me to be able to learn. So I have to take, those opportunities to be able to learn. So that was something that really impacted me a lot. And then the next thing was to be, uniquely you. And when I tell you that hit home for me, because there were painters, for me, let me give you this example. There were two painters there who was doing live painting. There was one who was doing painting like, let me show you one actually. So there was a lady who was doing this like type of painting right here. And then there was another lady who was doing painting that was more like nature type. But what I realized is that they both had a purpose. Even though they were both painters, they had a different style of painting. And they didn't try to, mimic the other each other. Like they just did their own thing. Like they just was like, look, this is what, God has called me to do. I'm gonna do it how God gives it to me. And so I thought that was so amazing to be able to have people who had the same type of gifts, from painters to writers to actors, but we were encouraged to be who we are, to be confident in who we are, to operate in who God has called us to be, and not try to be like anybody else. And not to feel like we have to do our art and, a certain way. Like we just do it however God gives it to us, and just be confident in that. And so for me, that was huge, because that was something that, I struggle with a little bit. It's like, okay, God, you know what? You have this, standard where people think that you're supposed to do things a certain way, in certain art forms, like, oh, you're supposed to be like this person, you're supposed to be like that person. It's like, no, like whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing with your artistry, you do it however God gives it to you. Don't try to be like anybody else. So that was something that, I learned. And my biggest takeaway was to be able to impact the world wherever you go. And what I learned is that the world doesn't have to necessarily be like the world, but your world of influence, like on your job, in your home, in your community, that is your world, And for me, it's like everywhere that I go, God, I want to impact the lives of people in such a way that they're drawn to you, not to me, but to you. And so I think that we have to have that mindset, is that no matter where we go, we use our gifts and our art to be able to impact the lives of people in such a way that they're drawn to God, and that we convey the heart and the mind of God, and that we know that we're making a difference in their lives. Even if nobody tells you, and this is something that, God had to deal with me about, even if nobody told you that, hey, your artwork or your writing or your book or your seminar, your workshop, whatever, made an impact in their lives, just know that somebody is being impacted, that you don't have to have, praise from man, but just being obedient to God is enough. Just being obedient to Him. And so for me, I am so grateful that Teresa Harvard Johnson, created this event because it's so needed. It's so needed to have an event where artists, in the kingdom can come together and, commune with the Father, because we also had worship. We also had workshop classes. We had, oh my gosh, a play as well too, that was performed. And this event, I mean, it's just all the way around. It just impacted your life. It was like no stone was unturned. Okay. It's like, look, they dealt with every single thing. And I love the fact that in the classes, people were able to ask questions and get, clarity, and have teachers who allowed the interaction, and they were open to even learning from the students as well too. And so to have this experience, at this point in my life, it made me realize, how precious it is to, really be in alignment with the right people. Because had I not aligned myself with Miss Teresa Harvard Johnson, I wouldn't be able to experience what I've experienced thus far. And it made me realize that I have to be, a more responsible artist, and to, again, value what it is that God has placed on the inside of me, not harbor it, to be able to share it with the world, and to know that, that God is doing such an awesome work, through His people to advance His kingdom, and to be a part of that for me. It's like, wow. It's like, really, God, me. So thank you so much to Miss Teresa Harvard Johnson. If you get a chance to watch this video, you have truly impacted the lives of so many people around this world. And so I just pray that God continues to bless your ministry. And if you're not connected with Miss Teresa Harvard Johnson, please get connected with her. You can check her out on social media at Miss Teresa Harvard Johnson. And again, if you want to learn more about the scribes, go to chamberofscribes.com and check her out. All right, bye.